Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Melissa Estavillo. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and owner of Biltmore Psychology and Counseling. Today we've been talking about some topics related to family, dysfunction within the family systems theories, and today we wanted to touch on when should families decide to seek out family counseling? So when has it reached the point where they say, hey, we should seek out a professional for help with our family and know that we might be able to get some relief from some of this historical dysfunction and hardship and pain that we've had over time. And so I wanted to touch on some typical places or junctures in which people say, okay, I'm going to go to family counseling and I think that this could be a benefit for us. So one of the most stereotypical and common places that people seek out family counseling is when there's been conflict between a parent and a child. So we love our children. So many of us as parents, we want to invest in our children, but we know that our kids have personality and they have strong wills and they have things that they desire that might be in conflict with what ultimately we would like to have for our children. And so very commonly people will say, okay, so we've been having problems with communication, or we've been having some problems with conflict within the home. It's reached the point that it's really been problematic. So we would like to go in for family counseling to find a new way to be able to communicate, to better understand our child, to better understand some techniques and parenting styles and things that we could do differently, to being able to bring out the best in our children, the best in us as parents, and be able to come together as a healthy family unit. A second thing that is very common presenting is that there can be conflict with siblings. So sometimes we are lucky enough to have a best friend in one of our siblings at home, but there's many times in which that can be incredibly hard and even to the point of abusive. So, many people will talk about how it's very painful when they've grown up with a family member that's been very negative in their life, but for many of us, unfortunately, we can have some of that conflict within a sibling relationship, and a parent can identify that, and that's huge to be able to say, hey, this doesn't have to stay that way. Let's figure out some of the reasons why there's been so much conflict between you two as siblings, and let's find another way to communicate, another way to be figuring out the underlying reason and be able to move through that. Another reason is that families will sometimes need support after a traumatic event. So if someone's been in a car accident together as a family, or they've gone through a major change of just losing a job and having to change their home and change their school or move across the country because they're in the military, that sometimes these can be really traumatic for a family. So they want to be able to process those events together because they've shared in it together. And so they could go seek out individual counseling, each with a person that's, different, but so often it's beautiful when we're able to heal together as a family through something that's been really hard. Another one that's somewhat similar to that is that family members will often really benefit from family counseling for grief. So, when I've worked with people where they've lost a brother, or they've lost a child, or they've lost a very special aunt or uncle in their life, everyone is feeling that same kind of pain. And grief so often is something that we're able to move through when we're able to share in that experience, when we're able to reflect together and know that we're not alone, that we're not the only one going through this pain, and that we've all equally lost someone, and we're not going to go into denial about it and pretend like it didn't happen, but acknowledge the issue, acknowledge the loss, and be able to work towards a place where it doesn't feel so heavy. Another one would be what I maybe will see more often with adult families is planning for an aging family member. So, families will often come in and say, hey, our loved one has been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, some kind of cognitive decline, and together we want to decide what the next best steps would be. We want for our loved one to be involved in that conversation because we know as much as they're capable of understanding, we want for them to have a vote in their life and to decide if they want assisted living or if they want in-home care or something along those lines. And so families can really benefit from coming in and having a therapist that is an expert in that area and being able to say, hey, these are resources available that you might not know about. Hey, here are some problem behaviors that might crop up in the years to come so that you can anticipate that and be prepared for it as a family. But that can make this really painful and hard situation less of a struggle, and one in which family members can come together and feel like they're equally sharing and caregiving for their loved one. Another reason why people come in is based on blended family dynamics. So there are beautiful second chances, second relationships that people can have, but when they've had children in their first relationship and now they're moving into their second relationship, there can be some complicated things about being a step parent, about knowing what are appropriate boundaries and how do we connect with children that might be excited about the new relationship but also might not be so excited. And so this gives a safe environment for everyone to talk about what they're feeling and be able to potentially find some resolution for some of that, so that it's not 10 years down the line when things have been so conflictual, and then eventually when the kids move out, then there's a little bit more ease. So families don't have to struggle for that long, and there doesn't need to be conflict. And maybe one of the last most common reasons why people come in for family counseling and say, hey, we should talk about this, is when there has been a lot of tension with co-parenting. What I'll often say to couples is they come in for couples counseling and they're maybe transitioning to a place of divorce because that's the direction that they've decided the relationship needs to go, is saying, regardless, you're always going to share this relationship around your children. And so finding a way to be able to co-parent together with love and grace and connection is a beautiful gift to be able to give your kids. Sometimes, though, because there's been historic pain in the relationship, or there's places where parents don't see eye to eye, that can create some tension. And it can feel so bad to feel like you have to go back to court and do another custody arrangement, or, navigate some of these things within the legal system. And knowing that sometimes family therapy is a perfect place to be able to do that. I've had situations where the two biological parents will come in, the child is there, and then we have our significant others from our other relationships there, being able to talk together, knowing that everyone's involved in the love and care of this child. But these dynamics have been conflictual, and they don't have to be, and we can talk about these appropriately and respectfully within the family system. So if your family is going through any one of these concerns, I would say that there's definitely room to be able to seek out family counseling and know that things can get better, and know that things don't always have to stay that way. If you're encountering things like, I have a spouse that I'm marrying and my family doesn't like her and I want for them to be more open. Again, there's so many other reasons and places where family counseling can be so very helpful. But these are the most common ones, and just want to provide some hope that things don't have to stay bad, that they can get better. So if you have any questions about these, you can always leave those in the comments below, and we're happy to answer them. If you have any future content around family therapy that you'd like for us to answer, you can also leave those in the comments, or you can subscribe for future content, and potentially we'll be able to address some of those questions in future, and then you'll be on our subscription feed and be able to see that, so you can like or subscribe for that. So know that there's hope, know that things don't always have to stay this way, and that families can get better, and family therapy is a great modality to be able to get that family to a place of happiness and health. Thank you so much.